Today we are lucky enough to have Miss Amy Post on here, and I'm looking at your book, Amy, and before we start in our conversation, I would love for you to kind of give me a brief synopsis that I already don't know, but for those who may be watching or listening online, Out of the Gray into the Light.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Good question. It feels like it's been forever ago that I wrote the book because I've just been going through this journey.
We'll set it here.
But the book, honestly, is my heart put on a plate. It is the journey with my daughter and I when she was 3 and she was diagnosed with malignant liver cancer and a rare genetic cancer gene that will bring 2 additional cancer diagnoses. It then brought me full circle a couple of years ago to a complete surrender where I was just not in a good place. Really feeling as though, just isolated, self-destructive, and things just didn't feel right. Something needed to change. There was a lot of things that I think I was maybe needing to do that I wasn't doing. I was listening to society and family about who I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to do, and don't rock the boat and don't change, and things are fine. And so I really
just a bunch of cliche buzzwords.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just broke down one day and called a friend and said, I think I have to write a book. And it really turned into one of the most healing things that I've ever done. But it allowed me to look back through, at that point, it was 8.5 years of what I had been through with my daughter, all of the things that we had, really gone through together, and then, trying to look at it through different lenses with a different perspective, because I had...
So this was after the buildup of all that is unreconciled...
Yeah, it was unreconciled
trauma. And,
yeah, I really just kind of pushed it away.
It's probably hard to feel that way because as a parent, I've been blessed enough to not be able to compare directly to that story, but understand the fact that the first thing we want to do is take that pain away from our child. And so when you have to be that vigilant for her, there's probably no room for you to grieve over your own stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what we all go through. I was always a yes person, putting myself last, no self-care, really no self-love. I just had too many things to take care of with her. But I hadn't even dealt with the first diagnosis. Like, I hadn't unpacked all the baggage and the anger and resentment and feelings that I really I wasn't sure how to unpack. And that's really where this book was born.
What was your breaking point?
It was the fall of 2022, and all of a sudden I just couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't function, and the past 8 or so years was just going through my head like a movie, theater. Like, I was just watching everything. I was reliving everything that happened. I was even remembering things that I had never remembered that happened, and I didn't understand it. If that could have put me over the edge, I think it almost did. And so at that point, when I called a friend and said, I really think that I need to write a book, but I think I need to heal. I'm not exactly sure, what I need to do or where I need to go. And he kind of just...
Or where to start.
He just really put me in with a great group of individuals that I think I'd been searching for a long time to help me feel that I was safe, give me kind of some direction, and keep me accountable. That's what I really needed, because during the book, when I was writing it, I quit 3 times.
Well, when you're depressed, it's hard to motivate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and my publishers wouldn't let me quit, and my friends wouldn't let me quit, and I think that my whole life has been kind of leading up to this, and I did. I isolated myself for many years after my daughter was finally out of the hospital, but we were then preparing for the next cancer diagnosis, And so things were just really grim. I was still very fearful. My family really didn't get involved. They just wanted to say everything was fine, everything was great, but I wasn't fine. I just wasn't. So this book, and honestly, Corey, when I wrote the book, every time I turned the next corner, like, it felt different, it looked different. I feel every time I open it up, I'm reading a brand new book. It's like my whole life is just kind of
because as you're accelerating,
place.
Right? Yeah. That's weird because I started this show out of turmoil in a dark place. And I remember I called. One of the things too was that I I've always wanted to do something like this, just hear people's story.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about listening to people's story. It helps me learn mine. And telling mine is therapeutic, as it is for many people, I guess, right? And so I was depressed, and I was sitting there, and I was like, enough secular BS.
Yeah.
I was hiding away from myself, and I was so good at being charming or talking shit, right? Like when I was younger, it was that, oh, I have a silver tongue, or all these words and things like that. And it wasn't until I got much older where people were like, oh, he speaks well, or he could do this. But I was always so insulted by, he could sell ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves kind of a thing. And then I realized that the reason I was being like that was because it wasn't that I was necessarily like lying about everything to anybody. It was that I was lying to myself about everything. I wasn't getting in touch with my traumas. I wasn't letting it happen. And I'd gotten so good at being like able to talk my way out of things, there was no accountability. So I'd been in a situation, in a relationship where basically I was called out, and this is the only time in my life where I respected and cared about that person enough to like listen to it from a perspective of love from them.
Yeah.
And they were like, it just feels like a performance piece. Because you say these things, but after a year if nothing changes, what is real?
Oh, absolutely.
And I was like, holy smokes.
And
I
whatever we
sat with
think is real. I mean, our thoughts are real.
I didn't believe in manifestation until very recently. This all happened in 40 something days, right? Like it was something where I had gone home and I sat down and I was like looking at some clutter in my house. And I realized, I was like, man, I couldn't have a girl over here right now. I couldn't have my girlfriend come over here. I would be embarrassed and she'd be uncomfortable. And right about then, my son had gotten into it with some neighbor and she followed him in the house and I was so uncomfortable. And the next day I spent a little time cleaning my house. And it wasn't like disgusting. There wasn't like mice and stuff, but it was like, I don't want to like paint some picture where I'm just living in complete slums. It was just, there was darts, there was Nerf darts there and like the clothes on the thing for my son. And so I cleaned it every day, and then like seventh day, I'm like wiping windows and wiping baseboards. And I'm like, I felt so comfortable, I felt so good, and it was calm. And I came home, and even though I was depressed, I felt good in my space. And I was like, man, what if I could do this with my spirit? What if I could do this with my mind? What if I could do this with my physical self?
Oh, yeah.
And so every day, 5:30 to 7:30, I'm conquering my own little world because no matter how crappy my day gets now, I'm stronger, I'm closer to God. I have a softer heart from reflection. I have a more honest view of myself because part of what I do in the morning is reflecting on the day before, not in a regretful way, but where did I get upset?
Yeah.
What bothered me? Because one of my biggest flaws that I thought was like a cute quirk was everything was annoying. And I don't know if you ever saw, what is it, like I Love You Man?
Yes.
Or I think that was a movie where like Paul Rudd is just a cynic and he's a cynic the whole time. And I was very much a cynic, and I thought it was quirky and funny, and it's not. I wasn't speaking positive about other people. I wasn't speaking positive about myself. And when you talk about manifestation, I created these changes to try and prove something to the person that I lost a relationship with. And along the way, I figured out, and this is my new favorite phrase, it's not faking it till you make it, it's doing it till you become it.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
I never really believed in self-love. I would joke it off. I'd be like, whatever. Or like I could play along with manifestation or different things, but you hosted a yoga session and poetry and sharing and all these things you were a part of the other day here at the club, and I was like, I really walked away from that feeling fulfilled and something, instead of taking it as like I'm some 18-year-old kid trying to be funny or cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we all are fearful. We don't want to lean into pain. Pain doesn't feel good. We push it away as much as possible. I mean, that's what I did for a really long time.
Yeah.
And my family, we weren't on the same page. And I always tell people, after my daughter was diagnosed at age 3, it really causes cancer to the entire families. And that is really, really hard.
An emotional cancer, right?
Emotional cancer, absolutely. And then we were told, 90% of couples get separated, if they have a child that is diagnosed. And that was absolutely one of those moments. And it was less than 24 hours after we were admitted. We were just told, literally, that she had, a rare genetic cancer gene, and she had hepatoblastoma of the liver. She's 3 years old. They rush us in. They've already scheduled chemotherapy. They've already scheduled platelet infusions, blood transfusions. It was absolutely just terrifying. And so I think anything that we go through, and I never downplay, anybody's trauma or anything
Sure,
that they're
'cause it's all
going
relative,
through.
right? That's something
Absolutely.
I'm
Pain
learning
is
too.
pain,
Yeah.
but we don't want to go through it and we don't want to feel it, but it's the only way that you're going to get to the other side. But you've got to unpack that baggage. I mean, you have to. And I kind of relate to you. I remember, I clean the house and it just makes me feel so much better. And we spent years decluttering and just decluttering the whole house. Then I decluttered my mind and my body and my soul, and just
Did you
really
throw anything away clothes-wise?
Oh.
I threw 3 trash bags of clothes away.
tons. We had in our upstairs area, we had 30 some bags. I was on a mission, but I needed to just get rid of
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. But I also needed to get rid of things that were kind of still going, they were tainting in the house.
Reminiscent of that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we went through different sections of this. And I always, talk to
That's
people.
weird that you said, because that is a relatable thing that shouldn't be relatable, but maybe it's probably to more people than it's us, because I had all these cardigans, right? But some of these things I bought when I was like 17 years old. Why do I still have these things?
I know.
And
I know.
it was maybe you can relate to this. If I figured out that there was I had a comfortability with my own chaos.
Yes.
And I was afraid to kill the old me completely. And so I had these little anchors that I was hanging on to, because I knew as long as I had that little anchor, no matter how far I drifted away into my new self, the devil could always pull me back to the old self.
Oh, yeah. Easier than we think.
And so I just started purging stuff, and it felt so good, because I was
Yes.
like, there's no more me. Like, no matter what my situation is, no matter what relationship I enter into, that dude's gone. See you later. Everything I knew about my life is over, because in order to go, I can only move forward now.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if anybody, listening today can relate, but I had such anguish and such resentment and anger, and I really needed to get rid of that. But
Were you projecting on everybody else
Oh, it
or
was
towards yourself?
I was projecting it onto my family because they weren't there for us. And I was angry that they weren't there for us. But then when
And they're easy targets because you know how to push those buttons.
Completely. And I think I had to point that finger back at myself and realize everybody goes through trauma and challenges completely different. We all have our different strengths. And if I was going to make it through this, I had to, count my blessings like I did that very first day that I, landed in the hospital, be grateful for everything that I had, but change my mind frame. That was number one. It couldn't be everybody else continuously. It had to come back on me. I was angry that my daughter was diagnosed. I was angry that we couldn't control it. I was angry that I was all alone, and it was just manifesting up to the point where I almost couldn't go on. And I think if anyone can relate to that, and I think it's very relatable, like those times are really low, but you have to be able to change your mind frame and have gratitude and be positive and grateful for what you do have. But if there are things in your life that are still causing you those emotional, distress times, get rid of them. Just get rid of it.
Well, and you really had to find one thing that I figured out, for me anyway, and I try not to speak with a broad brush anymore, because I always used to be like, put myself in this category that really was a protection by just saying, we do this, we do. I found that even my sons weren't inspiration enough for me at my darkest times. There was times when I had some really like, let's go ahead and end this thing. And I had these 2 beautiful boys. And I would think about it at those times where I'm like, is this my choice, or what would especially my youngest son's life be like afterwards?
I had those feelings as well, and my husband would tell me, I don't know what's wrong with you, because she's better. You're out of the hospital, she's better. But there was still just so much turmoil within me.
And once you lose part of that, it's hard to figure out where to go find it.
Yeah.
It's like, where do I find and then once I started packing, you talk about unpacking. That was when you're like, all this stuff was that you were trying to unpack emotionally. I started working with, along with my regular therapist, I work with a therapist who specializes in the inner child.
Yes.
And my first 2 sessions especially, it was so like, I compare it to like if you're doing a body cleanse and all the toxins are coming out of your body and you're just breaking out with acne everywhere, which by the way, that happened too from stress. Like it was literally coming out of my pores.
Yeah.
I was very manic for like 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't know why I was so manic. I've always kind of not been great at controlling my emotions. So that's something that I've been so excited about, like the inner peace and the inner happiness. Like it's like a lightning rod. Like I couldn't regulate. And I was always flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't understand why I was so stressed. I never had time in a day. All those things were so superficial once I figured out how to live purposefully.
Yes.
Get up and do my XYZ, plan my day out, do the same thing every day, win every day when I don't want to. Like the days that I work out the hardest now are the days that I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, today I win. I win. I forgot what alternative punk song it was, but it was like my own worst enemy, right? Like I'm
Yes, we all are. It's
kick the shit out of me every
crazy.
time I figure out I'm my own worst enemy. There's no, I was saying today, there's not even a close second. There's not even a close second.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. Because usually the close second place is maybe a viewpoint or an opinion from somebody that's close to you that you're concerned about or you care about.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's still in your head. 90% of what you're thinking about is never going to come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the fear that we have, I mean, it's just, it's inaccurate things that we've told ourselves. It's not real. And I remember I was in the same position of just, my daughter was better and I could not figure out why I couldn't move to that next step. I was just carrying and holding on to so much of that baggage. And I met some individuals. They're my accountability crew, and I love
Accountability
them.
buddies.
Yep, they are, and that's why I ask everybody, who's your accountability crew? Because if you don't have a good crew, let's find you one. So I had to do that, and they, one in particular, she's just my saving grace. She actually is probably one of my closest friends now, and she's out of Colorado. I had to get into alignment. I had to structure my life and get into alignment. I had to create my new why.
All right. When you say alignment,
have to get my entire, like you go to the chiropractor and you get into alignment.
Okay, yeah.
I needed to get my personal situation, my health,
spiritual alignment,
my relationships, my
just
spiritual, everything needed to be and get into alignment.
Everything has to jive.
Because I was really falling from my faith. My relationship was just crashing down with my husband, my relationship with my kids. I wasn't healthy spiritually, emotionally. I had just let myself really get to a bad place. And so she helped me start getting into alignment, and it was creating my new why. So I needed to find my vision, and I needed to write it down, and I needed to create and write down my new why.
Did you make a vision board?
Oh yeah.
I made my first real one the other day.
They're powerful.
They are.
And you need to write it down. You need to put it up wherever you can so you get to see it each and every day.
Mine's on my dresser.
Yeah, to remind yourself of it. Those were just pivotal moments for me of like, okay, I was trying to grab the why that I used to have, but that was no more. You want to create that new why of what do you actually want? Who are you? And for me, it was, what do I want in the back half of my life? I'm 48 now. I was 46, I guess, when I first kind of started going through this and writing the book. And then over the last 2 years, it's just been like powerful of I get to kind of put me first now. And that was huge to kind of have my own personal time to do what I want and not have to feel that I had to do everything and give to everybody else. And I could then kind of
focus. It's not selfish because you're actually better in those relationships now.
Yeah, and creating,
I was. Anyway.
Absolutely. And people don't sometimes realize that. I think we do, but we're just running so fast and we really want to please other people. We, as humans, we are people pleasers. We want to make other people happy for the most part.
When I had
was that person.
I had a dependency on people making me happy. I sought validation. I wouldn't have been able to do this show 5 months ago because I sought everybody's validation. And that's where I filled my void because I had abandonment issues. And so all my stuff came from that. And it was like, I was always trying. I mean, it would be a waiter at a table that I'll never see again in Minnesota, and I was concerned of what their opinion was of me. How ridiculous! Or I'd always try and put on a show to try and gain that person as a friend. And since I've stopped doing that and just been my true self, I've found that people are, maybe it's the caliber of people, like-minded people are attracted. The people that I've attracted in my life since this has happened, including yourself, because we've had several conversations now, are so much more quality people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and they're not the type of people that are going to go talk shit about you when you're done, because they don't have any reason to. When you're truly happy in yourself, why do I care what you're doing over there? Right? Like there was a, if you're minding my business, who's minding yours? Right?
Yes, exactly. No one cares. I mean, that's
Right.
It's huge.
I would lose sleep because somebody would talk to me with a smart tone at McDonald's.
And I think,
Like, what did I do to them?
yeah, one of the things I had to do in this alignment, Corey, is I had to, and these questions were, they were deep. Like you sit down and you literally do your alignment. You go through all these different questions that
Is this
then
like a chakra thing? When you're talking about alignment, is there like a human map for this?
there's not really a human map per se. I mean, you've got your pillars, you've got your, your values, you've got your alignment, your why, your vision, those types of things. But it really starts talking you back through all of your life. Like, do you remember, first memories? What did those memories, feel like? And, what did you do as a kid? And I think most of what we bring in those big old suitcases as our baggage is from much, much younger years. I didn't realize that mine actually was from my childhood. My brother was a drug addict. He was always in prison. My parents just absolutely gave him anything. So I learned if you are bad and you do bad things, you get rewarded for that. You get, offered to go to college anywhere you want. You get trucks, cars, you get
feel bad.
clothes. They wanted anything that they could possibly do to beg him to stop this lifestyle and be, good. And I remember I was the good child, and everything that I did was so good.
You're the one that gets shit on the most.
And I was the one that was never rewarded. And so I learned that, if you do bad things, you are rewarded. And so that's where it stemmed for me, of just people pleasing. And if I work harder, make more money, just have more on my plate and never say no, people will love me and I will be liked more.
Man, I was a scapegoat. I was the wild one. But the relationship I just got out of, and my aunt, who I look up to very much, were those people. And what's the hardest part about being that, I can only speculate, is that everybody assumes you have it together.
Yes.
You're everybody else's rock.
Yes.
So when you have something go wrong, who you turn to? The person you just gave advice to? Because one of the things I've learned along the way is that you don't take advice from people that aren't in a position you don't want to be in.
No. Never.
But when you're the stoic one in the family, the assumption is that, because I have an uncle who's not in that same boat, but he was the scapegoat. He was the bad kid, right? And he was always getting yelled at. And he got everything. And it was because they felt sorry for him in his condition. And I was kind of the same way. I was spoiled because people felt sorry that I had to bounce around. And the people who have it together, or seemingly have it together, or say, hey, you know what, I want to take on the burden of this family and try and be a good kid so that you don't have to deal with two of us, they're the ones that have nowhere to turn. And that probably explains the meltdown. It
does. And I remember one day asking my mom, why she enabled my brother for so many years. And I'm one of those, like, I will push you. Like, if I need to have those conversations, like, I'm very, very direct. And she said, what's an enabler? And I remember at that moment realizing that she didn't know what she was doing. She didn't see it. My dad saw it. I mean, he moved out very early on after all of the debacle of my family, moved away, so they lived separately.
So then the brother gets more pity now because he's been through this.
And he knows who he can play off of, and then he starts having kids, and then they're in prison, and my mom and my dad get custody of my brother's second child when he was 1.
I was back and forth between my grandparents and mom.
Yeah, our whole life was just so crazy. And I remember making a list when I was really young of what I wanted to take from my family and what I didn't want to take from them, and just those things. But I had forgotten that I took a lot of that baggage, that original baggage from, my brother, and brought it forward and just dumped it on people. And I think we all should understand that sometimes in those moments of anger and whatever we're saying, it's not in that moment of what's happened. It's just all that darn baggage that we haven't unpacked.
Yeah, mine's like I compare mine to like a Rolodex. So like when you do something that may have reminded me of various times, I run through all 2,000 scenarios, what those outcomes were, and where's next. Because my abandonment stuff caused me to always be in fight or flight.
Yeah.
But I was always figuring things out, and I was always assuming the worst. I never felt comfortable after kindergarten.
Yeah.
I was at a different place every 2 years, and so my understanding was that inevitably bad things are going to happen to me. How do I prevent it? And the closer I felt to someone, the more love I felt from someone. I was too nice to ever be mean. I would self-destruct. And I would self-destruct in little ways to where it'd be like, hey, what's wrong? Hey, you're not acting like yourself today. And then the realization that I had about self-love was, if I was in a survival situation and I was trapped in the middle of the woods and I built my campfire and I put my rocks around it and I stacked all my wood up and I knew that it's going to be 28 degrees tonight and I need some food, I'm going to have to do this. There's no way in heck I would sit around and wait for the lightning to hit that fire, or wait for someone when I'm in the middle of the woods, lost by myself, wait for my partner to magically appear and light my fire. And that was my happiness. That was the semblance of my entire existence up until really 3 months ago. And I never understood how important it was to light my own fire. The only way I'm going to get rescued is if I light my own fire. If my happiness and my love comes from here, nobody else can affect it.
Yeah, because it's hard to live with someone who you're expected to
Carry both their happiness.
Carry their happiness, make them happy, make all the decisions. The weight of the world is really on our shoulders. And
especially when that person's self-destructing, you're like, I don't think they're going to change.
Yeah, it's tough. And when I decided to write this book, it was just in one of those moments where I either had to do it to heal and move forward. I didn't really know what was even in store. And I think sometimes it's better that we don't know what's in store.
Yeah.
I look back and I'll ask people, and I've had people ask me, would you have rather known that, your daughter was going to get cancer or not know? But which is worse? Which is worse? But if you're not prepared for any of it, you don't know how to maneuver through, you don't have the tools, your toolbox is completely empty, you don't know how to manage anything, that's not a good way to live. And so I think those moments where I woke up, decided I'm going to write this book, I'm not happy in medical sales, I'm making tons of money, I've got everything that everybody would look in and go, it's a beautiful life, she's got everything, what's her problem?
Yeah.
I didn't know what my problem was, so I needed to lean into the uncomfortable and figure it out. But that's always been my style. If I don't feel comfortable with something, the first thing I would do is figure it out. Like, why the heck does that make me so uncomfortable? And so I've always been programmed like that. So one, I think it really helped our situation for me to advocate for myself and my daughter in the hospital and for others, because we changed numerous protocols. I was super, super thrilled to be able to do that. It was very difficult during, anybody in the hurricane.
Yeah.
You can't see straight, you're sleep deprived, you just really can't function well, you can't make good decisions. It's just a really tough place to be.
And when you're overwhelmed, you don't know where the yarn starts. Like, how can I undo this ball?
Yeah, and you get to take a step out of it. And I've told everybody, you don't have to write a book, but you can journal it. You can make, a board of, all of your goals and your dreams and things that you want to do, and have your, crew of those accountability, teammates there with you. And so I think pushing myself to really write that, I tell everybody now, is just do what you feel is right, but every time you turn that page and then go back and reread that page, it's going to feel like a new page if you'll just have a different perspective and look through a different lens. Because we couldn't control anything that was happening with our daughter. I realized that quickly when I tried as hard as I could to control the situation, but I couldn't. Nothing was going to take it away. Now, we could change her diet, we could change, all kinds of different things that we did have a slight bit of control. I didn't know the outcome, but I knew I could make small movements. but I could control my mind frame.
But that stuff you can't control is the stuff that drives you crazy.
It does. It really does. And I think I let that affect
Especially
me.
for someone who's used to controlling things. I was in the same situation.
Yeah, it's tough.
You got a problem? All right, let's fix it right now.
Let's fix it.
Right. And if I can't, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know where my mood even starts. It's
Yeah.
just like boof, everywhere.
And then you can't fix so many things, and that pile just...
Other people's emotions was the main one that I was focused on.
And then your rug is so high of the things that you couldn't fix, and it's very tough for someone like myself to not be able to fix someone's problem or fix my own. And so I think if we can all just change that mind frame and look at it through those different lenses and know every single day, like you said, starting with a different routine, mix things up. I mean, the most constant thing in life is change, and we had better embrace change in a positive way. And that's what I really decided to start doing. And that changed everything a couple of years ago. It took me from complete destruction to really having that firm vision. I have good days and I have bad days. We're all human. It's going to happen. But
I'm still embracing the pain I'm going through. Like, I'm moving on in a lot of ways, but
yeah,
I still feel like there's this Japanese folklore about how soulmates are tethered by a string. Right? Have you heard this?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it can never be cut. It can be tangled. It can be lost. But if it's meant to be, and that's the true thing, it'll be there. So I still have this like string that I'm hanging on to. And so my biggest battle daily is I'm like, is this the part where I cut this string myself? Like, was this a seasonal thing? Was this what it took because I wasn't close enough to God? Because one thing I started realizing as I got closer is like, he's like any father, right? So you start getting out of hand and smack in the back of the head. And I think that, you know, I had heart surgery as a kid. I was born with 2 holes in my heart. And I've had a couple emergencies, heart attacks, anginas along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm not really supposed to be here, technically, according to the doctors from then, right?
Yeah.
21 to 25, I was supposed to have major heart failure. And so I think that I've started accepting that I have a purpose, and I've started accepting my gift is to engage people, because that helps other people hear things. And it's not about me. It's just I'm a conduit. And I think the reason I'm able to do that now is because I truly feel like a conduit, whereas before it would have been about me. And if we would have been sitting here, I would have been listening to answer instead of listening to understand, instead of learning lessons.
Wow, that's deep. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge.
What's crazy is like, it comes from being honest with myself. I was never.
And I don't think many of us are honest
I think especially men.
with ourselves.
It's hard to accept that fact that I can still be macho and still like give into things that like feelings or like needing different modalities to heal. Because I come from a generation, but see, here's the thing is I mentor young men in my charity. And the reason I do that is because I'm like, I want to share this because I think somewhere along the way it got misconstrued where like it's okay to be not okay and everybody needs a safe place and this humble thing. But I think there's a real good medium about like, there's something more masculine about being in touch with your feelings. It doesn't have to be necessarily an effeminate thing or whatever. You know, it can be like, no, I'm a warrior in the garden, not a gardener in the war, right?
Yep.
And I always looked at it as like I was copping out or being dainty or whatever you want to call it, right? Like there's other words that I won't use, but it just didn't feel right. It was like, how am I a man?
Yeah.
But then I realized I was like, man, the shittiest thing I can do as a man is to project all this stuff, wear this armor of defense because I can't deal with my own traumas, and then enter into relationships where I'm supposed to love somebody and let them carry this weight and let them be responsible for my happiness because I can't find it myself because I can't admit my flaws and accept them and understand that we all have them and they're okay.
Yeah.
It's not about where we were.
Yeah, it's how we deal with them and that sort of thing. But I'll go back to that accountability. I mean, and I think a lot of men, and I actually, it's so interesting. When I started creating my podcast last fall, I came across these men's groups, and they're just powerful men bringing other men together. And my husband has been involved in one. It's called Front Row Dads for a long time. And I had to accept that, you know, he needed that group. And sometimes even if I said something and then they said something, it was their idea and not mine, and that was okay. And he was hearing it
You're used
different.
to that from being a parent, though, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I think men need this accountability tribe. They need, that just as much as women do, if not more. I mean, I think
I think
all
the key
do.
word there is tribe, right? Because it's primitive thoughts.
Yeah.
When I talk to veterans and I talk to athletes, there's a commonality there. And both of them would say that they wouldn't compare each other to the other one. Because most of these men and women are humble, right? But there's a brotherhood that you form.
Yes.
When you play sports with somebody for X amount of years and you're leaning on them for your wins and your losses, there's a thing that hurts. When you go into war with somebody, there's a brotherhood. And the suicide rate is so high in these groups, especially with men, because like you're saying, once we get out, we're isolated creatures. We're built to carry the load of our family. We're built to carry the load of the people we're here to protect. But in actuality, what's inside of us is we need to be part of a group.
Yeah.
We weren't hunting and gathering singularity. We were a tribe.
And it's so interesting. I mean, there are lots and lots of groups out there. And I think, after I wrote the book, I needed to take it a step further. And developing the podcast was amazing. I called it Advocacy and Hope. And I have interviews kind of like this with just wildly, just incredible people with great stories, but great mind frames. They've got a good attitude. And they can give some pearls, to the audience and things that maybe somebody out there, if it's one person that grabs a pearl and it helps them and it keeps them from committing suicide or it helps them make a better decision, then that's great. And I needed so many things over, the last 10 years that creating this community of advocacy and hope was what I knew that I was, set out for. Like that was in my why when I started going through this alignment and I start writing all this stuff out. And it's like, I literally needed to create this community for others so we would have this safe place to be, this accountability tribe, these individuals that, we've got so many eyes and ears helping everybody with resources and everything that just needs to be, I think, talked about. But if you're sitting there going to the wrong person, like I was for so many years, and I had my family who, they just didn't get it. They didn't know what to say. They didn't have any idea what to do about what I was going through with my daughter. I wanted them so badly to understand. And at some point, I just had to realize that wasn't going to work. I had to walk away from that and kind of find a different group of individuals. And that was scary. For those emotions. And
because there's something probably important about understanding and accepting your family for who they are too, right?
Yeah, I completely had to.
They can't be this, but they can be this, and that's just how I got to go into that situation, understanding that.
Yeah, and I mean that was my situation, but I think that situation there's such a purpose behind it because I don't think I would have ever created this community the way that I'm creating it now because I created it out of such brokenness of myself.
A need.
I mean, I can relate to all these women, all of these individuals coming up and saying, you're so inspiring. I love it. I never knew that I was inspiring in anything else except for sales. Like I could do sales amazing, and that's where I held my value and my worth. And I think that if anybody knows, that's not it. Your value and your worth is not in the amount of money that you bring to the table.
When you were hearing those things, was that when you were sharing and you were just being honest?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever heard it in my life, too, is recently. I sat across the table from who I consider my best friend now, Mr. Reed Lowe, who you know. And he's like, dude, we got to start hanging out again every day. He's like, whatever you got going on is like, so, he's like, I'm on fire right now.
Yeah. You find those people you just feel energized around, but they genuinely care. They want to hear about your problems, and they're not going. We as humans take, somebody tells us a story. I always tell people what happened to us, or they would hear, and they'd just be like, "Whoa, like that's heavy." I mean, like, "Oh man, my situation's not nearly as bad as yours. Hope you're doing all right." And it just very uncomfortable, weird. Yeah. That's okay. It's totally okay. They helped the way that they thought they could help. They came. They were at least there. And I think that you have to find that group or those 1-2 people who you really know care. And I think developing this group, it just feels so amazing because I am, like you said, surrounded by such amazing people, inspiring, grateful, positive people. And it's not that they don't have bad days, they do, but we're all there in kind of this, we just understand
There's
what's
an
happening.
unconditional trust.
Yeah.
And
if
that's
you have
that's what I told Reed when he was saying that. He was
Yeah.
like, dude, I said, bro, do you understand that you got me to this point? You stuck by me when I was dark, and you
Yep.
were like, literally said, I'm not giving up on you.
Not giving up. I'm not leaving. I'm not going to leave.
He was right when he said, he's like, I don't think anybody's ever done that. And maybe they have, but it never felt like they had.
Because a lot of times, things are really heavy for people and they take it on their back and they want to solve it and they take it on as their own problem.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy way to do, but, we do it as humans sometimes. And I think if you can find those few individuals, and like I said, with this community, it really brings those 4 pillars of, personal alignment, and I call it health, that personal health, relationship health, financial health, and spiritual health. But we have to be in alignment in all 4 of those. And I meet people exactly where they are. Starting point. Yeah.
Because I had to find my own, but it all falls into place. And so like one thing I would say is typically when I try and wrap a show, I always say that I'd like to speak on something that I feel like is wisdom that I learned from you today. And then I'd like you to leave everybody with some wisdom that you'd like to share. But through all the things that we've talked about today, one of the reoccurring things, and something that the best analogy I can think of would be that I feel like maybe given some of the things we've said in different ways, and we could get really deep into this, but the quick part of it is that we would all be better off and we would all get along better and have better relationships if we all focused on putting our own mask on first. Because if you're 100% in love with yourself and your happiness is here, it does shine, it does thing. But all of us are so dependent upon everyone else. Or we think it's our job, like you were saying, like it's our burden. If we all just focused on making ourselves better, we would all be better.
Yeah, 100%. But it does take kind of taking that finger and pointing it back at yourself and really going, okay, what do I need?
There's 3 of them.
What do I need right now?
Right.
What do I need? Yeah. And within that group, I think it's very healthy that someone can bring something to someone's attention and they're like, I didn't even really know I needed that. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's coming from a place of love. It's not like you're not being critical.
No, we're not like, oh, you're broken or
Right.
We bring things to the table and you're like, wow, I'm going to try that. I mean, it's what I would tell people, and I wrote this book from the depths of my heart. Like, there is not anybody that would pick up that book and read it and go, okay, she just wasn't being real.
Right.
Like, it is real, it is raw. I want people to know that
It
their
wasn't
story,
like Sunday to Sunday and you're done.
like, their story is massively important. I tell my daughter every single day, and she's got scars all over her body. I mean, she's just scarred from top to bottom. And she hated her scars for so long. And I said, they're beautiful. It's what makes you you. Don't hide them. Those are your unique things that you now as a warrior get to share with everybody else of what you've been through, and you get to help heal people. And you're not alone, but you've got to dive into your story. You've got to lean into your uncomfortable areas. It doesn't have to be scary if you have the right people around you, but you are not alone.
Right.
You're just not. And I think we just need more love and more hope in this world. And if we can just do that one person at a time or one group at a time. But I would also tell people, don't be scared. I know you're scared and you don't want to join it.
Is this your advice piece, this part?
Yeah. I really want people, one, to know that they aren't alone, because most of us think that we are totally alone. Nobody else would have a clue about what we're going through.
Yeah.
It's not true. It is absolutely not true. But if you're willing to lean into those uncomfortable moments and take a chance, you will realize that your story is more important than you will ever know. And it's probably going to be a challenging story. I didn't know that this right here would make the riveting effect that it has of the feedback that I have received. It's humbling. I had no idea people would react and tell me how amazing it was and how much they appreciated me opening up and how moving it was. It's okay to be you.
Yeah,
It
being
is,
vulnerable is great.
it's okay. And if you're not around the right people that accept that vulnerability and who you really are, man, find those people. But I want to bring people into a community where, just wholesome, good, honest, faith-driven individuals, are. And they're going to be there for you 100% of the time.
I love it. And thank you so very, very much for coming and sharing.
Corey, thank you. I have
Yes.
really enjoyed getting to know you. I think it was meant to be. I think we're all just on this little journey where we're meeting and running into the exact people that we're supposed to meet at the right time.
There's a lot of us on this right now, isn't there? Mm-hmm. That's very cool. Where can people find your book, and where can they find out more about you? Because I know you have a podcast also, right?
Yeah, I do. So I have a website. We just redesigned it. If anybody would be willing to go to my website at amypost.com, you can read a little bit more about me. You can really just read, I think the first chapter or two of the book if you'd like to. You learn more about the community, the coaching, sign up for our newsletter. I put out a free newsletter every Tuesday. And then we also have a live podcast for Advocacy and Hope. It's every Monday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay.
And then ordering the book, you can find it there on my website at amypost.com. It'll take you to a place where you can go on Amazon, Target, all the major retailers and order it there. And I would appreciate any support at all for this book, and to just reach out to me, ask me to pray for you, tell me your story. It will just make my heart smile.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.